Hi, Stephen. I wondered if you could get us started by introducing yourself, your background, expertise, and your current role.
Yep, so my name is Stephen Hill. My current role is Director of Research at Research England, where I'm responsible for work on research funding, but also research assessment, which includes the Research Excellence Framework, in which we assess, amongst other things, the impact of research. I've been in this role or similar roles focusing on research assessment and impact for little more than 10 years. So I was involved in the REF that concluded in 2014 and also the one that concluded in 2021. I'm very actively involved in preparing for the next Research Excellence Framework.
So, to start kind of edging our way into the main focus for this interview, I wondered if you could tell us about why you think it's important for researchers to engage with policymakers.
So I think it's very important when we look at research that it's not just about discovery of new knowledge, important as that is. I think given the amount of public investment that there goes into research, then it's really important that we get the best benefits that we can out of that research investment. And that means researchers have an obligation, in my view, to engage with whoever can use their research most effectively. And in many cases, that will be policymakers. So in many cases, the new knowledge, understandings, findings that come out of research are very valuable for the development of policy in all sorts of areas.
Totally agree. Could you give us a quick overview of how impact fits into the REF and why assessing impact is important?
So impact is one of the three areas that we assess in the REF. The other two are the scholarly outputs that come from research. So the communications to the academic community, I suppose, about how research is done, and also about the other element is the research environment. But research impact is a very important third part of that assessment. We've been assessing impact in the REF since the REF in 2014, and it's across both of the REFs that have occurred. It's been an important part of the assessment. So it counted for 20% of the overall score in REF 2014, and that went up to 25% in REF 2021, and we're planning it will continue to be 25% in the next REF, which will be concluding in 2029. So why is it so important that impact is part of research assessment? I think it's because it's important to make space for the time that researchers need to do that impact work. So as I said in my earlier question response, we need to get the benefits from research, and that means researchers need to be recognized and rewarded for the effort that they put into generating impact. And that's why it's so important to be part of the REF, so that that effort is rewarded. Ultimately, that leads to funding, more funding, and you have a virtuous cycle of research and impact being generated.
Now I'd like to shift to kind of focus on evaluation and evidence. So why do you think it's important to evaluate policy impacts?
So I think in the REF, we evaluate all sorts of impact, including policy impact, for the purposes of making a national assessment and allocating funding on that basis. So that's one very important reason why you might want to evaluate impact. But I think there's a secondary and really important reason as well, in that if you evaluate impact, that tells you what's going well in terms of your translation of research for policymakers. It gives you areas where you might need to improve and make that better. So it creates this kind of climate of continuous improvement. If you know how well your impact and work is going, then that enables you to improve it for the future.
When you think about the REF, how important are policy impacts and policy impact evidence in the REF?
So very important. So we know from analysis that we commissioned, carried out by King's College London for REF 2014 and by RAND Europe for REF 2021, that policy impact is a really large proportion of the impact that's reported in REF, and therefore reflects a lot of the policy impact that's going on in universities. So somewhere between a third and a half of all the impact case studies that are submitted to the REF across those two exercises have some form of policy impact as part of their impact case study.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Stephen. Really appreciate you doing this interview.
Thank you.